So you talked about, I mean, I heard two things there. One is kind of understand your costs. The other one is kind of understand your processes. Let's look at the cost first, because I think, that's, trying to create that baseline. I mean, I think that's what gets a lot of companies stuck, right? Because it's kind of the chicken and egg type of problem, right? It's one thing to say, okay, well, let's figure out what your transportation spend is, what your current costs are. But if you don't have a TMS, if you're using spreadsheets, if you're using manual processes, then determining those transportation costs, that baseline, is very difficult for many companies, right? So how do what do you see companies doing in terms of getting over that hump of just trying to create that baseline?
Well, how do they create the baseline? If they don't have existing systems in place, or they've got systems that are partially in place and they can't get the data, I mean, really what they have to do is come up with their best estimate. A lot of times you're going to have to go to different subject matter experts within the organization. You may have to talk to the guy that's doing inbound or outbound, the guy that's an LTL expert versus a truckload expert. And really what you have to do is create your best estimate at what your network looks like. When I run into these situations, and I'll get a call from somebody and they'll say, what are you using for software? What do you use for routing? And they'll tell me, Google Maps. All right, well, there's still people out there that do that. And when I see those opportunities, I realize that it typically indicates that there's a good amount of savings available to someone like that. There's a lot of automation that could be put in place with the transportation network, and there's a good amount of opportunity for them. What I'd say that they have to do is put together their best assessment, come up with that assessment, and then leverage a provider, someone like ourselves. It's not our first time doing this. It's not the first time we've heard that. We've gained a lot of experience over the years in helping people who are implementing a TMS but don't have the best idea of a baseline. So leverage an outside provider like ourselves, and we can provide you existing process maps for a future state. We can help you map out your current state, and then we can help you provide estimates that are going to be close enough that we can do a good implementation from there, and you could start getting the automation and the savings that you need to get.
One of the things that I've seen, some companies do is really looking at their just their invoices. Trying to collect the invoices that they've gotten over the years, over the course of a year from their various operations. Whether they're doing those payments in house or working with a third-party freight payment, provider, and try to use that data as kind of a starting point. I mean, do you see companies doing that as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Going off of invoice data is a very common way of doing it. A lot of times they're working with a third-party freight payment company, and they can get the information from them, or they can get it in-house. But even then, I do see people that do that, and I do see people that can't even do it with that kind of information, or they can do it for one of the modes of transportation. Like they say, I can provide it for truckload, but I really don't have visibility for LTL to that kind of data, or for parcel or something like that. But yeah, going off of invoice data, that's definitely one way of doing it. Anything that you can do to provide volume or spend, or any combination of the two, is just going to give us some kind of baseline to understand really how you want to size the solution, and then what kind of savings you can get from that type of solution. But again, if they don't have that information, it generally indicates that there's more savings available rather than less, so they're in a good position, at least in that aspect.